What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Fantasy Puck video. It's Chris, and today we're going to be talking about where to draft Connor Bedard. God, that felt so good to say, guys. Welcome back to a Fantasy Puck. We're kicking things off for another fantasy hockey season. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome to Fantasy Puck. We do everything fantasy hockey related, all types of content across all different platforms, which I'll get into in a second. But be sure to hit that subscribe button, guys. If you like fantasy hockey content, we have so much for you guys this year. Super excited to get things started again. Myself, Mike, Don, and Noah have been working tirelessly to get all this stuff prepped and ready for this year's fantasy hockey season. Let's just get right into it, guys. Brand new feature from us this year, the Fantasy Puck Patreon leagues. These are fantasy hockey leagues available to you guys that want a more premium experience in your leagues. These are essentially meant to eliminate the whole lack of inactivity, lack of, people not answering trades, people going inactive for 3/4 of the season. We want to bring you guys a better fantasy hockey league experience. So basically, there's going to be a tier available in our Patreon. It's up right now. All you have to do is sign up one time to get into the league. You'll be added into a new private area of Discord, which will have all the information available for you guys, and you can pick a draft time, and then you're essentially in the league for the entire season. So be sure to check that out on Patreon if you guys are interested in that. Myself and all of the Fantasy Puck members are going to be involved in playing in leagues this year. So really excited to bring you guys this experience, and hopefully you guys are as well. Now, new social media. Well, kind of old social media, but we're now being more active on it. We now have an Instagram, so be sure to follow us on Instagram as well, guys. Again, you should be able to just search us up, Fantasy Puck. And TikTok, we had a TikTok account, but we were pretty inactive on it, and we just did some videos. We're going to be super active on it this year. Going to be bringing you guys a lot of short form content across a lot of platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. All that good short form stuff will be just flowing out of the floodgates early on, guys. So also, Twitter is important as well too. That is your best source of information and trends and news happening immediately. So be sure you're following us on Twitter as well, guys. Okay, now that we're done with all of that, let's get into the video, where to draft Connor Bedard. We're going to go over why he's so hyped and so established as a rookie, what to expect in this year's fantasy hockey season, ideal and worst case scenarios for him going forward this year, and season long and keeper league rankings. Let's get into it. All right, so if you guys don't know who Connor Bedard is and you don't follow the World Juniors or the WHL or any junior league or the draft, or you've been living under a rock recently, this guy is probably the most highly touted prospect since Connor McDavid. He is absolutely unbelievable. I am 100% on board with his generational talent tag that people have already thrown on him. I think for right now, I can only tell you what information is available to me, and let me just list off some information from this guy. Had 28 points in 15 games as a 15-year-old in the WHL, 2 points per game at the under-18 Worlds as a double underager, 51 goals and 100 points at 16 years old in the WHL. He had just like 31 points in 14 World Junior games this year with 13 goals. And then as a 17-year-old, he had over 100 point draft year. As you can see here, 71 goals, 72 assists for 143 points in 57 games as a 17-year-old. That's probably the most ludicrous aspect of it all. He's only 17. He just turned 18 in July, guys. He does things with the puck and his shot that nobody else in the world can do. I'm not talking about just at a junior level. I'm talking about in the world. He does things that Austin Matthews can't do. He does things Connor McDavid can't do. His shot is, I've never seen anything like it in my life. If you guys have the opportunity, go watch a highlight tape of him. He's unbelievable. But basically, I think he's part of that generational tag for right now. And so we're going to look and we're going to compare him to other previous really good prospects and generational prospects that have come into the league, just to give you guys an idea of where he should be fantasy wise. So basically what I did was I went and I looked at the highest rookie single season points per game since 2015. Now, I think you can go about comparing him to a guy like Crosby as well too. The problem that I have with going and comparing him to Crosby is the fact that like the league was in such a different spot back when Crosby was a rookie versus when like say McDavid is a rookie, right? Like we're less than a decade away from when McDavid was a rookie. So let's take a look at this list here. If you guys can see, McDavid obviously like led the list with no surprise there in 2015, 2016. He had 48 points in 45 games. Matt Barzal, the infamous rookie season he had in 2017-18, he had over a point per game as well with 85 points. And then as you kind of get to go down the list, like you got to notice a couple things here, guys. Number one, Panarin and Kaprizov came in as rookies, as not true rookies, right? Remember that. Like these guys are like 25, 26, like just in their prime coming into the National Hockey League. So keep an eye on that. Elias Pettersson had a fantastic year as a rookie. Brock Besser, same thing, like solid. But the one thing that like you guys need to notice is a lot of these guys don't actually end up playing 82 games. This is part of the reason why we tell you guys not to be like overhyped and reach on rookies, is because of the fact that, you know, a lot of the time, like they come in as like 50, 60 point guys. They don't play a full season. They're not used to the NHL schedule. They're not used to going up against guys like Victor Hedman, like Jacob Trouba, like Moritz Seider. Like these are important things to consider. And the biggest thing about Bedard is, like I said, he just turned 18. He's been playing in junior for the past 4 or 5 years. He's been unbelievable in junior, yes, but he's not going up against grown NHL defensemen and guys that will just put you flat on your butt. Austin Matthews is another good example. He had 40 goals in his rookie year, but he had already been playing with men at that. He was already in the Swiss men's league. That's another important thing to consider. Austin Matthews is also 6'3". Now, I don't think there's an issue with Bedard's size at all. I think he's fine. Like he's listed at like 5'10" or like 5'9 3/4, and he's 185 pounds, but like I have no issue with his size altogether. What I have the issue is him coming into the league as a rookie, is that like he's not used to this kind of hockey yet, and it's going to take some time, right? The other thing is that, like, okay, let's compare him to another generational talent in Connor McDavid. He's not the athlete that Connor McDavid is. McDavid was unbelievable because of his speed, and he could do everything at the speed that which he was playing at. He had the hands to match it. Bedard's hands are unbelievable, but he is not like a freak athlete in that sense. He could be in terms of his shot, but that's a completely different component and something to consider, like, as you're kind of like establishing, okay, where do we want to draft him? So if you look at our fantasy puck projection, it's very conservative for that reason. I think 35 goals it's pretty conservative, honestly. If you guys get the chance to, like, I think this guy's going to absolutely light it up. And people are like, 35 goals in a rookie season. Look at some of the guys on this list. You got Pettersson with 28, you got Besser with 29, Patrick Laine had 36. McDavid didn't have a lot, but he only played 45 games. He was on pace for over 30 at that point. And I think Bedard's best asset is his shot, so I think 35 is pretty safe. 232 shots, I think that's kind of low. 16 power play points, I think that's also low. And I feel like he's just as good as a playmaker as he is a shooter. So again, guys, this is very conservative. It's very hard to... It's the most difficult thing that we have when it comes to our projections is evaluating rookies. And part of the reason is because they don't have an NHL sample. So what do we expect out of this guy going into the season? I have my own personal bold prediction in the bottom left, which I guess we can go over right now. I don't think he plays a full season. I think he misses around 10 games, so I have him at 72 games. I have him for 36 goals. I think he eclipses that 35 goal mark. 30 assists, I think, is a pretty safe bet. He could go over, he could be a little bit under, but I think he's more predominant as a goal scorer than a passer. And not to say that he's bad at passing by any means, but 24 power play points. I think Chicago shouldn't be good, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I think 24 is like, you know, give or take. Could go either way, could be higher, could be lower. And then I think he's gonna just shoot the puck at will. I think he's a lock for 250 shots. And I think he'll honestly hit more than people think. So this is why I have DeBrincat as one of my player comparables, is I think that, you know, even if he doesn't hit that massive point total of being like close to a point per game, I think 66 points is definitely doable for him if his team can stay healthy, and we'll talk about that in a second. But 260 shots, anywhere around that 66 point mark. I also included Tyler Toffoli here because I think that is probably like one of the better case outcomes. 34 goals, 39 assists for 73 points would be like a pretty ideal year for Bedard going into the league. And so I think like that stat line is something that's more on the higher end of things. I also think that he's going to hit a lot more than people think. He's not one to really shy away from contact or any type of physical engagement at all. 80 hits is like a bold prediction, but I do think he's definitely going to be more physical than what people think. And then 22 blocks, I don't see him playing a lot of penalty kill or anything like that, so he may just get in front of a couple shots. All right, so let's look at some ideal and worst case situations here. Ideally, he stays healthy the entire year, right? Like best case scenario, he's healthy, plays all 82 games, torches the NHL, just lights it up, like close to 40 goals, like what we saw from Austin Matthews, like a ridiculous amount of shots as well too, has like an 80+ point season, and like that's your best case scenario. Okay, now let's look at the worst case scenario. He gets injured, or his teammate gets some of his teammates get injured. His teammates just can't keep up with like him as a player. They're not talented enough to score. He can set them up all day long, and he's just not like, they're just not able to finish the puck, or they just can't get him the puck. And so like look at the ideal and worst case scenario and tell me which one is more likely to happen just based off this lineup. It's the worst case scenario. It's far and above the worst case scenario that is more likely to happen. Yes, they brought in Taylor Hall. That was a good piece. Lucas Reichel, a great prospect. Taylor Radish could, you know, who knows with him. But like, you look at this lineup, it is terrible. Chicago is going to be brutal. And so like you look at the team that he's playing on. It's not like the team that McDavid was playing on when they had Draisaitl, when they had Nugent Hopkins. I think Taylor Hall was actually on that team in McDavid's rookie season as well too. He actually led the team in points, I believe. So it's a completely different environment. Like, I think honestly, out of everybody in this lineup, the person that is most important to Bedard's success as a forward is going to be Seth Jones. Someone's got to move the puck up the ice to him. The positives to this lineup is that he's going to get every single possible chance, every power play. Like, he's probably going to play around 20 minutes a night. He's just going to get so much ice time. He's going to get so much opportunity possible with this Blackhawks team that he's gonna have that available to him, which you can't really say for a lot of other rookies. So that's the benefit to being on a team this bad, is there's nobody in front of him. He is the guy. Out of every stat, I think the one that I'm most excited to see is how much shot volume this guy gets. He had over 350 shots in the WHL. So where are we ranking this guy? Well, let's start by taking a look at the ADP. Now, remember, we're not even in September yet, and the ADP is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't know what is going on over there at ESPN. I don't think I'm touching this guy with the 10-foot pole in the top 20. And, like, even 42 is high. Like, if you look at their season-long ranking, 45 to 50, kind of in, like, the 4th, 5th round range if you want to take a shot on him. But you guys got to remember, like, the most ideal circumstance is that this guy is a point-per-game player. That is the perfect circumstance. But everybody else in the first round, in the second round, in the third round, in the 4th round, even into the 5th round potentially, are all locks for, you know, roughly around a point per game. Like, these are guys that you know can hit these point totals already in the National Hockey League. You don't know what Bedard can do. He could be better. I'm not saying he couldn't, but what I'm saying is the uncertainty to me is more of an issue than I would say taking him before a guy like Kevin Fiala, right? Somebody that I know is going to get me 75 points, going to have a high shot volume, and is going to be on a good team playing first line minutes. So now if you look at the Keeper League ranking, it's a little bit of a different circumstance. I think when it comes to Keeper Leagues, if it's a fresh reset, like completely, like everybody's available, McDavid, Matthews, McKinnon, I think he could go anywhere between that 10 and 15 range. I think that's pretty safe. I don't know if I would take him in the top 10 just because of some of the guys that are available this year late, like Jack Hughes, Jason Robertson, Tage Thompson. But if it's not a fresh reset in Keeper League, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the top 10 at all. And again, it depends on what your league is. It depends on how many keepers you get. But essentially, you're drafting this guy hoping that he's anywhere of the caliber that McDavid is. Like, can he get you 100 points next year if Chicago adds, you know, more forwards? Which is the other thing. Like, you don't know what Chicago's going to do in a couple of years from now. They still might be bad next year, right? But so this is where I personally have him ranked. I think this is a good spot, and I think, just like I said, go conservatively. If you're in a keeper league, I understand the hype. I understand wanting to reach on this guy. I'm right there with you. In a keeper league situation, like I said, I'd draft him. If I had pick 11, I might draft him pick 11, right? Anywhere within that 10 to 15 range. But again, season long, be a little bit more conservative. Understand that there's a lot of risk involved with this, and you're just drafting him for 1 year, and I'd rather go with a player that's a lock. All right, guys, that's gonna do for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, really excited to get things started. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and the analysis. Let me know where you guys are planning on drafting Connor Bedard. Do you think he's a generational player? Do you think he's going to live up to the hype that he has and what he's done his entire career? I'm so excited to watch and find out. This is, to me, he is the guy where I feel like I could be the most right or the most wrong about out of anybody in fantasy hockey. Like, this guy could realistically torch the NHL, and we would all just stand there and be like completely unsurprised that he's dominating the NHL. Or, you know, like I said, it could be like he might end up playing 60 games and being like around a point per game player there, or he might end up just getting 60 points with like 35 goals and a high shot volume. It's so fascinating to me just because of how of a talented player he is. But regardless, I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to watch him this season. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Guys, hit that subscribe button. We have so much content coming for you guys within the next like 2 weeks. It's a little bit slow, but as soon as September hits, there's going to be a video every single day. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, follow us on the rest of our platforms, and I will see you guys in the next video.